Welcome to the Good News Bay podcast, where we are making Bay County brighter one conversation at a time. Today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Brad Stevens of Sunjammers. Used to be water sports, but you're much more than water.
We are.
And I've waited quite a while to get you on the show. I've been looking forward to it. I love talking all things water and all things Bay County.
Absolutely.
And more. And so I really, if I can, I'm just going to walk with you through kind of a bio, because I think there's a lot of things people don't know about you. They're going to enjoy the personal side.
Well, I'm an open book, so let's get into it.
Well, you're a Bay High guy.
I am.
And so you're a Bay High grad.
Class 2000.
Married a Mosley grad.
I did. Nobody told me there was, I heard there was good luck.
Well, I married a Bay High cheerleader from '91 and as a Mosley grad, and it works pretty well.
It does.
You've been a businessman here in Bay County for quite a while now.
I have. So we started Sunjammers in 1999. So I graduated in 2000. I started Sunjammers in '99, thanks to co-op at Bay High. And but I've been buying and selling things
your whole life.
Literally my whole life. It's in my DNA.
So we talked about this a little bit off air, and I find it fascinating. Anytime we can tell a story of hard work and a business mindset and starting from not much and working hard and seeing things come to like being able to see that dream come true, I think it's pretty neat. And you said that you weren't exactly born with a silver spoon in your mouth. I
was not. So, we grew up, mom and dad working, their tails off. I think that's where I get my work ethic from, watching my parents succeed. They're also self-employed, self-made. Mm-hmm. And, it was just watching them struggle, early on as a kid, thinking, wow, it's my parents, they gave me everything, and they still do to this day. They're still my biggest cheerleaders. And just watching them work to make sure my brother and I had everything that we needed to be successful. And, I had to work on my cars growing up. Not very much, but a little bit, not like my parents did. Right. And it's just been, it's been a fun journey, to look back, how far we've come in just a couple generations of our family being here. We just seem to be getting a little bit more farther down that American dream success.
Now, how many generations are you in Bay County?
I always tell everybody 5th generation St. Andrews. I might only be 4 now that I'm sitting here.
That's not just Bay County, that's St. Andrews.
That's in St. Andrews. I grew up in the house my great-grandfather built in 1910.
Okay.
And it's still in the compound, as we call it. We still own the house. So, and we all live, my mom, my dad, and I, we still live close. My brother moved to Lynn Haven. Well, I have no idea. But
hey.
No offense to Lynn Haven. But, we still, my parents live on Stevens Avenue, which is our last name. So it was named after my grandfather. We actually grew up next door on Brown Avenue. So why there's a bunch of old wives' tales about why they're not named the group where my grandfather lived named after us, but that's a whole nother story. And it's just St. Andrews, and we're a tight-knit family community in St. Andrews.
Knowing how far back you go in the St. Andrews area, actually, it explains some things for me. I mean, I've as a fellow citizen of Bay County, I've seen you around a little bit. Bought a kayak from you.
You did. Thank you for that.
Been a little while since I did that, but I've seen your business grow, and it's been interesting to see you put all the emphasis that you have in the St. Andrews. I mean, you've been for Bay County as a whole, but why would you not be in love with Bay County and specifically St. Andrews when you've got that much background in that area?
Yeah, we grew up in my grandfather kept his commercial fishing boat in Smith Yacht Basin. So, I kind of grew up in that area, playing in that part of, which is just down, it's 300 yards north of where the shop is now.
Right.
It's exactly a mile kayak from my house to shop. So that was, an obvious reason to move it to St. Andrews. Funny story, I've kayaked to work before, but then I get there and I realize I don't have a truck. So that's a whole other thing when you got to make a warehouse run or do a delivery. You're like, it's going to take me about 45 minutes to kayak back home, so there's some logistics that have to work out. But we have a staff member that also lives in our neighborhood that he'll kayak home some days.
Really?
And it's fun.
Well, one of the things that I'd asked you before is how you learned to do business, and you told me the School of Hard Knocks.
I did. Just a lot of trial and error. Graduated from School of Hard Knocks. My dad graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. My mom was a professor at School of Hard Knocks. She really taught us everything. But I started just selling stuff early, and I sold candy at Jinx Middle School, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And it just
you told me you wanted some. Was it cargo shorts so that you had more
cargo
space
shorts?
to put
Yeah,
stuff?
absolutely. It's hard to it's hard to keep your inventory. And if you got wearing them skinny jeans, there's no way those kids could do it these days.
Name some of your favorite products from the 1990s that you like to sell.
We did well with Airheads.
Okay.
Blow Pops.
And Blow Pops.
Yes,
man,
and it was the green bubble gum, whatever that was. And then Dentyne came out. They were the smaller things, so there was a higher profit margin on them because there were more in the pack that was still $1 or $2. Yep. We sold bubble gum for 25 cents a piece and Airheads for 50 cents a piece. You could hear me coming. I jingled.
Is it true with much business experience like what you've got? Trial and error is huge. I mean, you have to try stuff.
Yeah, it's somebody said you fail forward, and I believe I've been onto that wholeheartedly. If you want to move forward, you got to fail a bunch of times to get there.
So for the folks that are listening and watching, this is a story of hard work. It's a local hard work business story of someone who's made it work, trial and error, over and over, done life, been faithful. I'm bragging on you a little bit, but well, maybe a lot. But you're somebody that's poured back into the community. Now, the term that's going to be heard a lot, and I'm saying this because we got some folks that don't know all these different places in Bay County. We keep saying St. Andrews. Now, if I'm kind of talking like the average person that may not be from here, if you come in Bay County, you will go down Highway 390. Mm-hmm. You follow it till it becomes Beck Avenue, right, which is the address of your store. 390 literally runs into Beck and becomes Beck and it dead ends into St. Andrews.
It dead ends to Oaks by the Bay Park. I believe 390, the street signs say St. Andrews Boulevard.
Okay, they probably do.
I think they do. Don't hold me to that if I'm wrong, but there's a St. Andrews Boulevard. I'm pretty sure it's the south end of 390.
So if people have not found St. Andrews yet, maybe even there's people that be watching that are living on the beach, or that they come down here from out. I've got family in Alabama and Georgia and that kind of thing.
That's where those extra 2 podcast listens come to.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's about right. But like if they're coming down here for the weekend or for the day, we would love for them to come across the bridge and either come to downtown or to St. Andrews.
Yeah, absolutely. So Panama City's we're kind of weird. There's some goodness to some weirdness that we have. We really have 2 downtowns. You have downtown, which is Harrison Avenue.
Yep.
That is just exploding with new growth, really post-hurricane. I know a lot of groundwork was being laid pre-hurricane, but after the hurricane, downtown has just grown leaps and bounds. And then you have St. Andrews, which is kind of like old St. Andrews, old Florida still. It's kind of also like a downtown, but not the downtown. So it does cause some confusions. But come to either one of those areas and walk around. You have farmers markets at both of them. And it's kind of how I think communities are supposed to be set up, very walkable. You're going to see, if you're from out of town, there's a good chance you're going to see somebody from your hometown in one of these 2 communities.
No, I think it's amazing that we have both of those. I probably should have thought through this before just to ask it on air.
Oh, great.
I've spent, like I am a Lynn Haven guy, right? Mm-hmm. So I haven't spent tons of time over the years in the downtown St. Andrews area. Although I did go to St. Andrews Baptist growing up. But if you go down to St. Andrews and you follow the coast, like Cove Boulevard, right? Does it take you all the way to the downtown area?
If you take Beck Avenue, so let's do Beck Avenue.
Yeah.
And you circle.
Explain it so they'll know how to do both.
Yeah, so you get down to Beck Avenue and then you just keep following the water around. It will take you to what we call the tank farm, which is where the big Chevron tanks are.
Yep.
And then that takes you right to Harrison Avenue.
Right.
So it's ironically right at 3.1 miles. I really think we should have like a 5K or something.
Well, and there's a lot of people that jog that area.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of folks that live in the Cove that love the view. And for those of us that are kind of old timers, I don't know if they're still doing this or not, but the old Azalea
Trail, yes. Yeah. I don't know if they still are.
Did you do that?
I did not put on a dress and do the Azalea Trail, no.
Well, I didn't put on a dress, but I had to stand there in the cold. I mean, they were blooming, but it was so cold.
Yeah, no, I never did that.
No dress. I want to say that out loud to make sure they heard it.
But those are some of the prettiest homes.
They are.
They're old style homes. But there's some new ones that have been built that are just absolutely gorgeous.
And I think the important reason to bring all that up is to say that that's a very pretty part. It's a historic part of the Bay County area. And if people haven't seen it, that was the first part of Bay County.
It was. It's kind of the town seat, if you will. It's kind of where it all started.
Yep. So talk to me a little bit about like modern St. Andrews. I mean, you obviously have a shop that has kayaks and all sorts of other things as well. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But you're a big advocate for St. Andrews as a whole. So if I'm thinking about going down to see what's in St. Andrews, what time of day would I go? Which day what can I do when like Saturdays? There's a garden market, right?
There's a farmers market on Saturday. That's a new venue. It's at Oaks by the Bay Park. So just keep following St. Andrews Boulevard, 390 Beck Avenue, whatever you want to call it. It will literally run you into the farmers market.
And that's a brand new. I mean,
it is
a brand new location.
It is a brand new location. First of what's next month? May.
Yeah.
So it's moving 1st of May, and we're really excited about the move. It's a beautiful venue down there. If you've never been to Oaks by the Bay Park, I was down there the other day. We had a shrimp boat catch on fire a couple of weeks ago at night.
Yes.
And I went down the next morning because I called somebody that lives in those condos right there, and he was like, "It's literally off my back porch," and I'm like, "No, it's at like Tyndall. Like I'm watching it from my house." No, it's like literally on the beach there at the end of Beck Avenue. So as I was walking through the park to fly a drone around it to get some footage of it, I fell in love with the park all over again. And I just do that almost every time I walk through Oaks by the Bay Park. I fall in love with it all over again.
What do they call that big oak tree down there?
The century oak.
After the hurricane, I mean, we were among those that were out of our house for a bunch of months, but I remember the Christmas after being shocked whenever we went down, because we went down there for Christmas photos. I mean, you get the photographer and they meet you down there and you take the pictures. I couldn't believe that oak made it.
It made it, and I don't think it lost a limb.
It's incredible. If you haven't seen the century oak, that's something to look at.
You've got to go see the century oak.
Is there a playground in that park?
There is not, but there's a playground across the little side street at a place called Truesdale Park.
Okay.
And it has a playground on it. So you don't need, if you come to Oaks by the Bay Park, it's a big, green, grassy, open area. There's plenty of room to let the kids play. Bring some corn, bring whatever you want, and just go down there and make an afternoon of the park. It's fantastic.
Does it look great at sunset?
It looks okay at sunset. I mean, if you like gorgeous colors, green grass popping, birds chirping, it looks okay if you consider that being okay.
It's one of the most beautiful
pieces
of property in Bay County.
It is. And then there's a boardwalk at the very south end of it that most people don't realize is there. And there's a boardwalk that walks down to the bay. So you can actually get down and walk in the bay.
So if, regardless of age, right, if I wanted to go on a date with wife, girlfriend, whatever, you could actually go eat dinner and then go for a walk to that park, down that sidewalk, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I think before we got hung up on Oaks by the Bay Park, you asked me what are some reasons to
I was. Tell me about some businesses down there, man. Please.
It is some amazing food. There's not a bad restaurant in St. Andrews. There's not a franchise in St. Andrews. And I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to say that, but we are, we're fighting. There's not very many communities that can say we don't have a franchise. We have a gas station. It's a Chevron. So maybe we do have a franchise.
So that means they're all one of a kind.
They're all one of a kind. Most all of them, you can walk into the restaurant and probably the owner's probably in there doing something in it. I eat lunch at Hunt's, which is across the street from us regularly.
Yeah.
Collins is in there every day. I don't think I've ever been there and Collins have not been there working, doing something. You can go to Uncle Ernie's and Sean's going to be in there. His brother Aaron doing something.
Uncle Ernie's, they let us come in and do some footage for the Christmas podcast that we did, Gift of Hope, and it's the rebuild is incredible.
It is unbelievable.
I haven't been to the upper deck during restaurant hours, but I got to do the shoot.
So that's where y'all shoot was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I
could have stayed up there all. I'd love to just be up there and it'd be quiet, just let me study it there a little bit. But food's great there.
It is. The food's amazing, and the view. It's probably the best view in Bay County.
I know that when it's sunset.
It is.
You can pull your boat up there.
You can. They have a dock, so you can boat to Uncle Ernie's.
Yeah.
And it's just, but there's not a bad restaurant in St. Andrews. I know you expect me to say that I'm a St. Andrews boy, but if there was a bad restaurant, it just wouldn't be there. The best pizza you ever eat, I think, comes out of the Slice House, which is literally next door to the shop. So I don't like the Slice House anymore because I eat there every day. And the only reason I don't like it is because I eat there every day. But I ate there yesterday. So it is, I don't like how close it is. It's too convenient.
And I know it seems like I'm just like advertising St. Andrews, but I really am. Like people that have not been down there, particularly since the hurricane, they need to go down there and see all the new businesses.
Absolutely.
That are there. Here's an interesting question I'd like to ask you. Of the new businesses that are there, like I've got a family or two at our church that have started new businesses in different parts of town. Are you seeing people that have moved here that are starting businesses in the St. Andrew area, or most of those local residents?
Most of them are local residents, only because we're out of places to put businesses. We're full.
Okay.
As a community, most of the retail spaces are full. And I believe almost all of them were there pre-hurricane. So they hung on. They may have revamped a little bit of what they're doing. But it's as far as new businesses coming in St. Andrews, it's tough because we're so small. We say we're wonderfully walkable because you can park anywhere in St. Andrews and walk to any other place in St. Andrews without having to like stop and catch your breath.
Is there any suggested place if I go down there and want to walk around and eat dinner? Is there a better place to park than another?
No, it's everybody screams there's no parking. There's no parking in any downtown you go to, other than there's giant parking lots everywhere. Behind our store, everybody calls it the Uncle Ernie's lot, which is right on the water. Yep. There's a giant parking lot. Behind Hunt's, there's a big public parking lot. On the marina, there's like 300 and something parking spots. So there's plenty of parking. It just may not be like right in front of the door you want, but I promise you, it's all worth the walk.
That's cool. Your store. Let's talk about it for a minute.
Oh, how much time do we have?
Well, I mean, so I want to talk about the store next door to your store in a few minutes because I think there's probably some ladies that would want to go to that store. But before I do, I want to talk to you about your store. And men and women would love to go to your store and buy some stuff. What do you sell?
So we sell everything from kayaks to flip-flops and everything in between. Kayaks are our specialty.
That's where you started it all.
It really started with sailboats. I loved sailboats and the Hobie 16 specifically. I wanted to be the Hobie catamaran dealer, and they forced me to buy kayaks. It was, we'll give you the sailboat dealership, but you have to buy kayaks.
Well, and you told me you grew up on a Hobie cat, right?
I grew up racing Hobie 16s. And,
racing them?
Yeah, we used to travel around and race them. They were a lot of fun. And but we have morphed, and we're actually no longer a sailboat dealer. Just the industry changed, and them forcing us to buy kayaks set up what I now looking back was how I was going to make my living as an adult.
Right.
And we've sold almost every major brand kayaks over the year. We've dialed it into what we think are the 3 best for our area.
Okay.
And then we've added all the other lifestyle stuff around it: hats, flip-flops, sunglasses. We're growing our sunglass selection leaps and bounds. We've tripled it this year alone in the size of our selection with all the different brands. We realized there was no good place in town to buy sunglasses or flip-flops with selection.
Right.
So that is what we are kind of growing into, So you don't have to drive to the beach. And we love all of Bay County, but when you live in town, you don't want to just drive to the beach if you don't have to necessarily to buy, a pair of sunglasses or flip-flops or a Mother's Day gift or anything like that.
Sure. Well, and if we're talking about small business, buying local's important.
Absolutely.
And so that's a key part of that. I think one of the things that I think is relatively unknown, and I don't know if I'm hitting like the whole audience or not, but if we've got people that are a part of Bay County, most of the time they like the water in some form or another.
If not, then they just haven't discovered it yet.
And when you find people that are new to the water, literally I've met folks that are like, okay, what can we do? What should that look like? And kayaks open a whole new world in a lot of different ways.
It does. Kayaks and paddleboards open up. It's easy. You can throw it in the bed of your truck. A lot of people leave them on top of their cars. So if they have 45 minutes or an hour, they get out of the office early, and they're passing by any body of water, we can slide in for 20 or 30 minutes. Yep. It's not this ordeal. My best friend, he doesn't live on the water, and he's always like, it takes me an hour to get ready to go put my boat in the water. And then we got to put it in the water. We got to find a place to park and all that good stuff. And he's like, and you just grab a kayak and you go for 25 minutes and it looks like you have a blast. And it is my reset. Being on the water is my stress reset. When I'm stressed, I'm just like, I need 30 minutes to go be on the water, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Some days I'll leave the shop and I'll just grab a kayak and go down to the boat ramp. Yep. And I'll go kayak for 20 or 30 minutes. If I'm going to be on a 45-minute conference call, you better believe I'm doing it on the water. Put them earbuds in and I'm good to go. There's just something
I'm jealous now.
About it. So, and there's so many places in Bay County from north. You got Crooked Creek, Burnt Mill Creek. Lynn Haven probably has some of the nicest on-the-water facilities of anywhere in Panama City or Bay County. And you can go to the 5th Street ballpark. I don't know what that's called, but you take 5th Street and it just dead ends.
They're going to be getting on Google Maps.
There's a kayak launch down there, and no matter which way the wind's blowing except northwest, you can hide there.
I think we also, and I don't have specific info to share, but I know that we have seen a lot of improvements to a lot of the green spaces in Bay County since the hurricane. There's more coming. I almost hesitate to even ask because I hadn't gotten an update recently, but I know that the downtown marina as well as the St. Andrews Marina are both scheduled for big overhauls. I just don't know what the current progress is, but it's going to happen.
It is going to happen. So Right now, the St. Andrews Marina is out for an RF something that's government talk. They're getting bids
Sure.
to find out who can do what on it.
Yep.
And it is going to be back. We're hoping 3-ish years. I think it should be done. Yep. I hope. And that timeline keeps moving. But no, they're coming back, and we're going to have 2 beautiful marinas. And they're going to look similar to before, but modern. Mm-hmm. And I know that a lot of our elected officials, they're while they're having to go slow due to FEMA, insurance money, all that good stuff, they're looking, what are our citizens going to need 50 years from now that we can lay the groundwork for now?
Right.
So it's it's way slower than any of us want, but they're doing a good job of hopefully doing it right long term.
Right. Several things. I kind of feel like, I don't know what I'm telling. I want to just kind of share some positive things about kayak. I love the kayak that I had. I bought the kayak that I did from you because I had a motor that blew up that year. I had a bass boat and I blew a hole through the engine, and so I needed to save up some before I did something different. So I basically took what I could out of that bass boat, and I bought that kayak.
You bought a Hobie Outback?
I did. Well, I bought the one with pedals.
That's the Hobie Outback.
And I'm going to tell you, as a guy that likes to fish in creeks with current, you literally, I mean, I've always was used to the foot control trolling motor. Mm-hmm. And I literally was able to fish with both hands in current, upstream, in the wind. It didn't matter. It was a game changer. What's cool, and we didn't talk about this off air, but I sold that thing about 4 years later.
You made money.
I did. I mean, it's crazy. You put that thing on Facebook, you get the phone call from somewhere out 30A, they hand you this big wad of cash, no question. You're like, you don't want me to explain? Nope. And I'm like, that's nuts.
Yep.
But those Hobies keep their value.
The Hobies hold their value very well, and
you can't break them. Like, you put them in salt water, you rinse them off.
You cannot tear them up. They are Hobie.
I hung mine on the fence. I mean,
they're their own worst enemy. The competition for Hobie is themselves from 15 years ago because they're still trucking.
You know what? Part of what caused me to sell is because they changed the seats.
The seats have come so far.
That's it. They've come a long way, and so that's one of the things. But the reality is, it's a great investment.
It is, and it's they're not cheap by any means.
They aren't cheap.
However, the first time you use it, you forget exactly what you paid for it because you get so much enjoyment out of it, almost instantaneous. You know it's going to hold its value. If you have a bad back, there's probably a seat that's going to be comfortable for you.
Right.
And most people go, I don't have the coordination, I don't have the upper body strength. Well, use your feet to propel these things. So your hands are used for taking pictures and casting rods.
Well, and so you're a business guy. Mm-hmm. We were talking about inflation and how much of a pinch that creates earlier. And so one of the things that I see that you probably don't have any idea where I'm going with.
I have no idea.
You don't. One of the things that I think is cool, there are places that I have gone and I've sat and watched them put just, there's a restaurant out on the beach. You sit there and just watch them put boats in. They're $500,000 each, one after the other, after the other, after the other. That's not my league. I'm not going to be able to do that. I don't even want to make a payment on one of those.
I don't want to fill up the tank. And
so in a time when gas is expensive, and the cost to actually get out and play in some of this water is really high, even though the Hobie is kind of the upper end of it, the fact of the matter is it's way more doable for families to be able to get out and get some of that salt therapy.
It is. It's obtainable, and there's not a maintenance. There's not a yearly cost that goes along with it. Price goes to $8 a gallon. Your peanut butter and jelly still powers these things.
Well, the pastor in me is actually trying to talk to some of our listeners, and I'm not trying to make the men mad, but guys, it might be wiser if you got young babies at home to get you a kayak now and save the big saltwater boat for later when you actually can afford it and the diapers. You know what I mean?
Because the needs of that power boat's going to change as your kids get older.
It is. It is.
You need to start off with a little cabin. We've been down that road as well, and we own power boats. So I say, let me rephrase that. My parents own power boats. The best boat to have is your friends. And then what I think is even better than that's your parents. I just go, it's out of fuel again. I don't know what happened.
We've got some young guys that listen to me and that watch this that love to fish. They're pretty good at it. I mean, anglers, these fishermen now, they get lots of practice from early on.
Yep.
And you were telling me about a kayak tournament series that you guys are doing, a redfish tournament.
Yep. So we have, what's kind of taken the kayak industry by storm is these tournaments. It really started with the bass.
Yep.
And their catch, photo, and release, because it's hard to keep bass alive on a kayak. It can be done, but it's just way easier to take a picture of it. So there's a special board you put it on. You take a picture of it. There's, rules involved to make sure you aren't cheating. And but it opens up to everybody. because all you have to do is catch the fish. The hardest part is taking a picture of it, because it's got to be, it's hard. People laugh, but when you do it, it's like, oh, it's hard to get, because we're like, the angle can't, it's got to be a certain way you take the picture. But there's national series going. There's a Hobie Bass Open series. These people are fishing for like $250,000 out of kayaks.
Yep.
And there's some and this weekend or last weekend in Eufaula is a big tournament.
Right.
There's some local boys going up. I'm like, we should have a lot of local boys going up and fishing this. So we've started a redfish series here. I don't like the bass fish. I call them ditch pickles. And I've caught
call them what?
Ditch pickles.
That is not good news, man.
I mean, neither is catching a bass after you've caught a redfish.
I can't make idols out of largemouth bass, but that is the species. Come on now.
No, redfish. Redfish. Let me call Justin. Can I phone a friend?
Justin will have your back, I
yes,
promise.
I know he will. It's going to be this big. So we do a redfish series out of kayaks with the same format the bass guys do it. Catch, photo, and release. Right. And it's really easy. They're low entry fees, and 100% of the money goes back for the prizes. And if you're thinking about getting into any kind of tournament fishing, this is easy. We run week-long tournaments, so you can go an hour after work and catch a fish.
Well, this podcast is going to come out pretty quick. The next tournament, if my research was right, it's starting the 23rd.
The 23rd,
April,
yes,
and it'll go through like right before Mother's Day, May 6th.
There is.
And so they can go to your Facebook page, I guess?
The best thing to do is just call the shop and ask for Trent, not me. Ask for Trent, and he'll walk you through it. Yep. We use a third-party app called TourneyX. It's kind of the industry standard.
That's where that comes
And we're really dialing in how we run ours. So you can get used to these low-entry mom-and-pop homegrown tournaments with not a lot of pressure on you. Yep. So if you want to go to like fish, I hate to say a real tournament or a real kayak tournament, everything you're used to doing just carries right over. Yeah. It would be easier for us to let you use your Stanley tape measure. It'd be cheaper for you to let you use your stand, but then you aren't prepared for the next level. So we're always trying to train people and add value to them. While it kind of seems like an inconvenience now, in the long run, it's definitely the better call.
Let me change gears. Still talking kayaks, because I think these are things people don't realize with kayaks if they're not around them much. The pedals on the kayaks, but even maybe some of the ones that don't, you can drop those in at the beach, and you can take these depth finders with a GPS on it, and you can catch snapper offshore.
We snapper and grouper fish out of kayaks routinely. Before I had kids, I did it a lot more than I do now. Now I feel guilty if I go out fishing without my kids, so we take the boat more personally. Mm-hmm. But there's still a whole culture that takes kayak snapper fishing in the west end of the beach. If you think about it, kind of Thomas's Donuts to Walton County, it's like 15 miles from our pass to get down there. Yep. So are you going to run, and it's almost the equal coming from distance. There's kind of a no man's land right down there that most boaters don't go to. So the kayakers can just launch right off the beach. They can be a mile and a half off the beach. No boat's going to run 15 or 16 miles to fish a mile off the beach. They're running outs. So there's a little, boaters, cover your ears, but there's a little gold mine of red snapper down there in grouper. There's live natural bottom down there. Yep. And there's parking, so it's easy to launch.
Fellas, I'm trying to hook you up here. I mean, this is, if you're coming down, staying on the beach for a week, out that direction, you can launch, you can get out to the fish and get back and have dinner with snapper. Today, this very day that we're recording, there was an announcement by Ron DeSantis, our governor, that they're going to make snapper season longer, 57 days.
57 days.
And this is cool to me. Like, I don't know if people think much about how preachers think, but like if there's no days that aren't windy, they probably don't ever think about it. But if there's no days that aren't windy, and all the days of snapper season are like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, well, there aren't many. And you got to, I mean, these guys, people I know, they'll go every day they can go. It's calm enough. Well, if they're putting it out over 57 days, that's a lot longer. It's a June 17th to the 31st of July. It's going to include a 12-day fall season and over Veterans Day, which is going to be great for local tourism. They've got some that's going to push towards Thanksgiving, which is another boon for guys like Justin Leake and the captains with that. And so when we talk about good news, I think it's great.
Hey, that is fantastic news. And, people don't realize the economic impact that red snapper has on Bay County. From the bed tax of the heads in beds to the fuel to the bait shops, it is an astronomical. And when we don't have that longer season, it hurts every business in Bay County. Absolutely. Whether you're related to the fishing or not, it hurts everybody.
No doubt it does. Next door to your place, I was talking to a friend of yours today. You know Bubba McCants?
I do.
And I said, man, tell me something about Brad. He said, well, let me tell you. He said, I don't. He said, I'm not. He's not a big kayak guy, right?
Nope.
But I'm telling you, if I'm going down there, I'm going to your shop and I'm going to look at sunglasses and all that other stuff in that store, and I'm going to send the wife next door because he actually said, I don't do a bunch, but my wife, I spend a lot of money in the store next door.
Yes, he does. Indirectly, he does.
And it's called the Trendy Side.
It's called the Trendy Side.
And your wife, Jamie, she's a school teacher.
Yes.
But this is kind of her. This is her store.
It's her side hustle.
All right.
And
what do they do? Like, what's in there?
It's a women's clothing boutique. So, you just think of a women's clothing boutique, and that is the Trendy Side. And it got started the Trendy Side. My wife loves to shop. So I was like, man, if we could start getting this wholesale, it'd save me a lot of money.
Make it go the other direction.
So we put a couple of racks in on the far side of the wall of the shop, and we just started calling it the Trendy Side. Well, when the space opened up next door to us, we grew the Trendy Side, and it just get called the Trendy Side. We kept the name, and we just cut a giant hole in the wall, so you can actually walk from one store to the other. There's about a 6-foot door walkway that you can just walk from one store to the other. And it's weird. You'll see couples out front. I want to go in here. I want to go in here, and they kind of get in a little argument, and then you see them huff off in their own directions, and they come in and they look and they see each other because they realize they walked in the same store within 2 doors.
Well, my wife was down there the other day with a friend, and she ran into you because it was such close proximity. And next thing I know, she comes home telling me that she's met this person that sounds just like me when he talks about Bay County. I'm like, what? And so obviously we already had the podcast scheduled, but it's neat that those 2 stores are so close. I asked you if I could do this. I think that if guys are looking for what are they going to do Mother's Day? Mother's Day's coming up. It's May 8th, right?
And guys, you have to buy your wife's Mother's Day presents. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there.
And if I got a shop, I want to go down there and look at kayaks and get a gift card at the store next door and maybe offer to take her to shop with the gift card later so we can go look at the new kayak.
Absolutely, and it works just like that. Hey, honey, come over here and look at this, and they carry their bags over. So, but Mother's Day is right around the corner, and guys, you have got to buy your wives Mother's Day presents if you have kids. I'm just cluing you in. I messed up once.
It does matter.
It does.
It's important for people to hear that because it falls on dad.
It does, and if you don't come to our store to buy something, go to a local mom and pop store. If you go in and spend $25, that seriously could mean the difference in them making a profit that day and not.
Well, in any of the restaurants we've described, there's others we haven't mentioned. There's Los Antojitos, there's Finn's, there's Enzo's Pizza.
Yes.
And
Alice's on Bayview, great place for brunch. Copper Tap.
Can we mention a couple on the downtown side? Is there a couple of restaurants? We can't mention those at all?
No, we can't. So the House of Henry's new downtown. I have not been there yet, but I hear my buddy Bobby Beard has it, and it is, everybody says if you like Irish-type pubs, you're going to love the House of Henry.
Okay.
We go to history class quite a bit. My buddy Alan has that one with his partners, and if you love Bay County, you have got to go into the history class because it is a Bay County museum of artifacts.
It's impressive.
And And there's somewhere, the Bagel Maker downtown is a great place going to get bagels in the morning.
Yep.
It's both of our downtown areas just have, there's no franchises in either one of them. I know at Hounded there's no franchises in San Andreas. There's none downtown either.
Right.
And they are growing. I like Maddie's La Casinda. I think I said that right. I'm from St. Andrews, so I sound out all the letters in a word.
Maddie's is good.
Maddie's is
I don't
fantastic.
know how you say the rest of it, but to go down there for lunch and tacos is...
it is unbelievable. It's on the northern end of Harrison, and it is good eats.
So if they don't end up getting gift cards at your place or Trinity's, any of those restaurants would be great.
Absolutely, but just try to be as local as possible. As I'm friends with a ton of small business owners in Bay County, and it has been tough on the small business owners. We're all busy, but yet we're all struggling at the same exact time. I know this is good news, but it's good news because
tell us how we can help.
Just come in and just shop. I mean, if you can replace a franchise with a mom and pop, it will help your local community. The statistics back this up on this. Almost twice as much money when you shop at a local independent store stays in the community versus a franchise.
So, similar topic, but I'm asking you because I know you and I have talked a little bit. I go back a little ways in Bay County, love Bay County, but I'm excited about the growth. You're 5th generation St. Andrews. You also, there's things we don't like about the growth, but it's coming. It's here. Tell me what's good about growth.
It's all the new people, It's somebody made a comment the other day, and I said, "You realize since the hurricane, we've added about 25% new people to Bay County. 1 in 4 people have no idea what you're talking about." And that really hit me that, and I mentioned this, we do a merchant meeting every Thursday morning in St. Andrews. So if you want to come to Almavita and crash all the merchants, come on, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. And I mentioned this to them this morning. I said, the best news is we're still growing rapidly, but 1 in 4 people you run into may have never heard of St. Andrews or your business.
Right.
And there's an opportunity to educate them and add value to them. And I get excited and giddy about it because we're growing exponentially. And it means all of our businesses have the opportunity to grow exponentially along with it because they're moving here. They're moving to this area for a reason, and it's because of the lifestyle that we have and the people in the Southern hospitality. And the things we complain about, they don't see as a problem. I don't like traffic. I live 1 mile from the shop by water and 3 miles by the road. If it takes me more than about 6 minutes to get home, I'm grumpy. These people, when they move down here, I go, hey, you just moved to the area? What brought you to the area? It's cheap and you have no traffic. And I hear that multiple times a week. And I'm like, these people are crazy. And then I think about where they're moving from. And we're still paradise.
What I have found with all the folks that I've met that are new to the area, they want to be here.
Yes.
They've not moved here because they want to make it like where they came from. They've moved here because they love who we are. Yes. And they want to contribute and come be a part of the community. Can you find anomalies to that? Man, I can find anomalies to good people in Bay County. Absolutely. But most of them are really, really fine folks.
Yep. And so you just mentioned something. I don't know anybody that said they had to move here. They all chose to move here.
Yes.
And that is that's a powerful thought when you think about it. All these people are coming here. They didn't come here because they had to. They came here because they wanted to. It's
exciting.
It is.
So I want to give you. I'm going to wait till the end. I'm going to give you a little quiz. Never done this before on the show. So either order here on these icebreaker quiz: fried fish or grilled fish?
Fried at Hunt's.
At Hunt's.
I love it.
Oh, boy. It's a classic.
It is. It's classic.
If you like oysters, that's where you need to get it.
Absolutely.
Seafood or steak?
This is a tough one. I like both, but I'm seafood.
Would it be different if I said seafood or chicken?
Yes, seafood.
Okay.
Steak's just hard. I mean, who doesn't like a good steak?
I love it all.
If you have it,
I just like meat.
Are we promoting every radio? Are we promoting every restaurant in Bay County? Because I'm tossed up on who has the best steak, and I'd love for y'all to come tell me. Is it Triple J's or Rodeo's? And Rodeo's just opened back up in, I don't know if they're in Callaway or Parker, but they're over on that side of town.
They are right before we go. Yeah.
I don't know where that is.
They rebuilt, though, and they're ready.
Oh, man, and it's a beautiful venue, and
good for you, man. You're I love Rodeo's.
I love Rodeo's.
And some people hadn't heard of Triple J's. Where's it at? Tell them.
It's on Thomas Drive, on the other side of the bridge. Hang a left. It's down there right next to Half Hitch Shackle.
It's a good steak.
It is. They're both good steaks, and they both have killer salads. And I don't like salads, but I do like it before I eat my steak.
Okay. Seafood and steak. I got it.
Yes, thank you. Surf and turf.
Creek or beach?
Beach.
Okay. And there are lots of places to kayak on the creeks, right?
There are.
Old music or new music?
Oh, oldish, but some new sprinkled in. Like I listen to Morgan Wallen, and I also listen to Garth Brooks. Pretty equally. So I just like music.
Summer or winter?
Summer. I wear flip flops every day, even if it's cold.
If it's too cold for flip flops,
it's too cold to go outside.
TV shows or movies?
I don't care for TV at all much, but so is a TV show an hour show or is that a movie? And I'm totally messing up your icebreaker.
No, I don't know the definition.
Whatever my wife puts on, I watch, and we do a lot of Hallmark.
Okay.
So there we go, Hallmark Channel.
Fair enough. Coffee or tea?
Coffee, black.
Do you drink tea? And if you do, is it sweet or not?
I have switched to unsweet tea. Because I'm trying to not drink as much sugar and eat as much sugar.
I don't want to tell my friends
and it took me a really hard time to make the transition.
Yeah, it's not as good.
I think it's better now.
Really?
Now that I have kind of purged myself. Y'all are going to call me Yankees now that I don't drink sweet tea.
You're gonna get
I'll drink it, but it's I've grown to like unsweet tea.
Fair enough.
With a splash of lemonade to sweeten it up.
Before we finish off here, this has been a great time.
Aren't icebreakers supposed to be at the beginning of a podcast?
It's my show. We can do whatever we want.
Just ask it.
No, it's good. We've never done it before. So you got two daughters, don't you?
2 daughters. I do. Lily and Caroline.
I thought it would be important for you to get a chance to say hi to them before we get out of here.
Lily, Caroline, you should have came with me. They'd have been as quiet as can be in here. They'd have been like this. But no, they love it, and I'm trying as hard as I can. Everything I do, I think, can I make it where my kids don't have to or want to move out of Bay County? Because 10 or 12 years ago, almost all year, there was a great vacuum suck in Bay County. all your high performing kids almost had to leave Bay County to be successful. And I hope that little things I can do, little nudges here and there, can make them want to stay here. Now, my oldest is going to go to NASA. She's going to go to Mars. She can tell you where in Houston she has to go.
Right.
So I doubt I can move NASA here. But then when I heard we're getting a Space Force, I don't even know what it is, but I know space and space. So maybe she can stay here. But
I want to compliment you in something particular. We don't really have time to go in depth to it, but the kayak I bought from you was when your shop was
on
out
Highway
at Highway 79. And we talked off air because it is has been rare for people to move from the west into Bay County or back to Panama City. You did that. You said you don't regret it. And I want to tell you on air, so I want to tell you, I'm thankful for what Brad Stevens and your family and your efforts have been to this community. I wasn't certain before I talked to you that it's been good for your family to be in St. Andrews, but I have been 100% confident it's good for St. Andrews and good for Bay County that you moved back to that area. Like you're literally helping make all the boats rise with that tide.
All the kayaks.
All the kayaks.
Rising tide floats all kayaks.
I think you've heard about enough of us today. Listen, brother, thank you so much for your time.
Man, thanks so much for having me.
What you do. Appreciate you, man.
I thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Good News Bay podcast, where we are making Bay County brighter one conversation at a time. Please help us share this good news and change the conversation by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the podcast.